Hello guys, what's up? It's Rick Pete back with a new video for you. Excuse me. I apologise for it being so close to my last video, but obviously given the subject matter I couldn't leave it much longer to put up. So I've just finished watching the TNA Slammiversary 2017, which was the 15th Slammiversary, and so I figured I'd do a review video for it. It's been, God, ages since I did a TNA event review. I think the last one I did was the Kurt Angle farewell tour when they were in London. I watched that on TV, and this is the first TNA pay-per-view I've watched for years. It's been a long time since I've watched TNA. I had sort of mixed feelings going into this. I had a few people tell me it was great. A couple of people had posted saying it was pretty average, but I went in with an open mind. I had kind of low expectations, but I always find it's better to set that way, and given the fact that a lot of WWE pay-per-views lately have been quite shocking, it's always the best way to set your standards low and then obviously be quite surprised by how good something is. Was I right to have low expectations? We'll find out during this video. I think this was the first joint production of Global Force TNA wrestling. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm sure they mentioned that a few times. And obviously there was going to be the world titles were going to be unified, and also the women's title I found out was going to be unified. I didn't know anything about the event, like I said, I've not watched TNA for a long time. So basically went into this absolutely blind, completely clueless as to what was going on, what had been happening. I was hoping to do sort of videos to bring you up to speed to for the matches and stuff, which thankfully they did. So that sort of helped me catch up with a lot of stuff. The opening video they did was pretty good. It had the guy who done the voiceovers for a lot of the old DVDs, and a lot of the segments they showed I actually remembered from watching when I used to watch TNA, or from seeing on my DVDs. So yeah, that was pretty cool. It was also pretty cool to hear Don West on commentary. A lot of my DVDs have got Don West on doing commentary with Mike today, and Don West just has this unique sort of, everything's just amazing. He goes into it, he's like, I don't want to say he's like a young kid, but he gets really into it, and stuff that just blows him away, and he'll hold back. He's brilliant. I like Don West. So yeah, that's that bit done. So I'll go through it match by match as it happened. The first match was for the GFW tag team titles, and it had featured teams from different companies that had all sort of come together to to basically wrestle on the show. The first team out was Garza Jr. and Laredo Kid, who I've never heard of either of them. They were representing Crash, which I've never heard of. Drago and El Hijo de Fantasma. Please bear with me with my pronunciation of stuff. Drago, I've seen, I'm not sure if I've seen him in Lucha Underground or if I've seen him in something else. But I recognised him. And they were representing AAA, which I know is a Mexican promotion. And then there was, now this is where it's going to get tricky for me, Naomichi Marufuji and Taiji Ishimori, and they were representing Pro Wrestling Noah. I recognised one of them, I'm not sure which one it was. I know that sounds really bad, but one of them from somewhere else. And then last out, representing TNA Impact Wrestling, whatever it was LAX. It was weird for me seeing the sort of version of LAX, seeing two other guys wrestle. I can't remember the names now, I do apologise. But Homicide coming out with Conan, I was looking for Hernandez. To me, LAX is Homicide and Hernandez and Conan outside. So yeah, it was a bit weird seeing LAX with Homicide as almost like an advisor role, almost like a assistant manager type vibe going on. But yeah, it was kind of weird. The match itself, what a match. That is how you open a pay-per-view. I was absolutely blown away. Non-stop from bell to bell. It was just fast-paced, high-flying, just action, there was high spots, everything. This match literally had it all. LAX retained their titles, but it was one hell of a match. I have not seen a tag team sort of match of that style that good for a long time, and it was just amazing to watch. Like I said, thoroughly enjoyed it. Next up was Moose and D'Angelo Williams versus Eli Drake and Chris Adonis. I have no idea who D'Angelo Williams is. I don't follow NFL, so that I could walk past him in the street and I wouldn't have a clue who he is. If they hadn't mentioned his NFL background, I wouldn't have been none the wiser. To me, he could have just been some guy who was parking his car and they said, "Oh, you're big. Do you want to join in this match?" I wouldn't have had a clue. It's just one of those things. I thought he put on a really good showing. To say, he'd only recently started wrestling training. Well, apparently, I don't know how long he'd been training, but he was really good. It was essentially like a celebrity showcase match. They brought him in as Moose's partner, and they were mentioning other matches where celebrities have got into wrestling, like Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone, and they mentioned a couple of others, but Williams absolutely put those guys to shame. As Don West said, put Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman together and D'Angelo Williams was better than them combined, and he was really good. I'm thoroughly impressed. I know Moose from his Ring of Honor days. Chris Adonis was Chris Masters in WWE. Eli Drake I've not heard of, but like I said, it's been a while since I watched TNA, so you have to forgive me on that one. Moose and Williams got the win. The table finish didn't quite go right. I think the idea was that Williams was going to jump off the top rope and put Adonis through a table, and he kind of overshot a little bit, and so he didn't make the impact that he wanted, pardon the pun, and the table didn't break, but they got the win anyway. And then afterwards, Moose went chasing after him, grabbed Eli Drake, dragged him back down to the ring, put him on the table, put him through the table with a powerbomb, which the fans loved. But again, that D'Angelo Williams guy was just amazing. Like I say, I'm not sure about his NFL background. They showed some clips, and he may not. I don't know NFL, so I don't know whether he were good, whether he were bad. But to me, he could quite easily adapt to a wrestling ring. He were really good, very impressive. Next up was EC3 versus James Storm in a strap match. I'm a James Storm fan. You talk about the t-shirt. Although I haven't watched Impact for ages, I couldn't really sit and justify watching the show on the off chance that James Storm was on. Just it's like 2 hours or whatever, and it's like if he's not on and it's been a crap show, then it's just a waste of time. I didn't know the backstory to this feud, but thankfully this, like the other matches, had a video that sort of built up and explained the story to this match, so that was a massive help for me. Now in these kinds of matches, the strap can sometimes handicap the flow of a match. It sort of slows it down and stuff, but not in this case. Both guys made full use of the strap and whipping each other and choking each other, and they didn't hold back either. During the match, you could just see EC3's body, which is because he's so big, it was just red raw. You could see the bruising and everything coming through it. It was unreal. I enjoyed the match. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, strap match I've ever seen. But the ending was a bit weird. Carter fell out of the ring and it let go where they took the strap off, which is a typically good heel move. And then James Storm came out and the strap was still next to Carter, and then he pulled the strap, which sent Storm into the ring post head first. They got back into the ring, and Carter, I think, went to hit the 1%er, and then Storm reversed it, hit the last call super kick. Carter sort of bounced off the ropes, turned around, and as Storm was going to hit another one, he just kind of dropped to the ring floor, dropped at mat. The commentators sort of straight away, it's from his head, he must have hurt his head more than we thought, blah 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 blah. The referee went over and he's like, sort of saying to Carter, you know, just pin him, let's end it, pin him, it's, you know, done. EC3 had other ideas. He picked up Storm and hit an Angel's wings. I'm not sure if that was some sort of tribute to Christopher Daniels, some sort of mockery, I have no idea, but it was Christopher Daniels' finishing move. Then he pinned James Storm. Now, in my opinion, the finish sort of protected both guys. EC3 gets the pinfall, so he won it, albeit in a kind of an asshole way of doing it. But then there's also that, oh well, Storm was coming back, and if he hadn't banged his head, you know, he could have won the match and all that. So I'm not sure what the intentions there, whether it's just to keep the feud going, I don't know. Good match, really good match, like I said, probably the best strap match I've seen for a long time, if probably the best one I've ever seen. Both guys put in a hell of a showing. Next up was Jeremy Borash and Joseph Parks. Yeah, I'll leave it at that bit for now. Versus Josh Matthews and Scott Steiner. Now, this was something completely different. I've seen matches with commentators before. Obviously, there was the Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler match at WrestleMania. JR's been in matches. I've seen referees matches during the Invasion. There's Earl Hebner versus, I can't remember his name, the tall one from WCW, the Tash. But this one was different, a lot different. So I'll go through the match quickly for anybody who hasn't seen it. Obviously, there are spoilers in this, as you will, you know, put in the description. But it was, instead of being all in ring, there was some other little segments in it which made it a bit more enjoyable. They sort of did start sort of a bit of a fight in the ring, and then it ended up out of the arena with Borash and Parks running away, basically because they weren't scared of Scott Steiner. And then it showed you, instead of running after them, Steiner jumped in a golf cart and got to Matthews to join him, and they were chasing him down in it. Like, Scott Steiner was just shouting some really ridiculous stuff. You're like, oh, you know, follow the fan, run your farce over, and all this sort of stuff. It was quite comical. They split up, the Parks and Borash. So Matthews went after Borash, Steiner went after Joseph Parks. So this was after, as they pulled, the heels pulled up in the golf cart, Parks and Borash sprayed him with a fire extinguisher, and then split up. Another runoff then, and then some poor guy who I've read apparently was in a lot of the deletion things with Matt Hardy, got thrown out of his pickup truck and they stole it. Josh Matthews was driving and Steiner was shouting stuff like, you know, follow the fat asses again and all this sort of stuff. And then they split up. Matthews went after Borash, Steiner after Parks. Jeremy and Borash went to a swimming pool. Now, I'm not sure if it looked like it was kind of a pre-taped segment rather than live, and then it was just put in. And then as he ran at Jeremy Borash, as Matthews ran at Jeremy Borash, who was stood near the edge of the pool, Borash backflipped him into the swimming pool. Then he turned around, sort of like, oh, what am I doing? And did this sort of flip thing onto Matthews, which was pretty cool. If it was actually Jeremy Borash that did that, it was pretty cool. And then under the water, it showed you him struggling, and then there was a Shark Boy cameo. It showed you the top of the pool, and you could just see like a little shark fin from the mask going across, and it showed you Shark Boy underwater and shouting, oh, Shell, yeah. And he helped Borash out a bit. Borash got out of the pool and ran off with Matthews in chase. Then it showed you Joseph Parks getting a beating from Scott Steiner, who threw him through like a wooden doorway. And then as Parks was laid there, he turned around and Father John Mitchell appeared in front of him, told him to get up, rise up, and he passed him the Abyss mask. So then it cut back to JB, making his way back into the arena, and he was wet. And then it showed you Matthews and Steiner coming down the ramp and stalking him. And Josh Matthews was obviously soaked as well, which is how you do a continuations thing, WWE, like with the House of Horrors, which didn't continue quite well. So JB made his way back into the ring, took a bit of a pasting off Matthews, and then kept trying to put him in the Steiner recliner, and then Scott Steiner wanted to do it, and Matthews was like, no, let me do it. And then all of a sudden, Abyss's music hit, and James Mitchell appeared at the top of the ramp. So Steiner and Matthews were looking up the ramp, and Abyss appeared behind them, destroyed him, got rid of Steiner, and then Mitchell handed Abyss the little black bag full of thumbtacks. Josh Matthews took a black hole slam onto the tacks, and then Jeremy Borash, in an absolute complete adrenaline rush moment of madness, call it what you want, it was great to watch, got onto the top rope and hit a splash onto Matthews, and Abyss got the pin. Credit to TNA Global Force Wrestling, whoever came up with the idea for this. They gave us us watching it at home, more so, a really enjoyable match, instead of just being in the ring and it just stinking and just being terrible, for God knows how long. But it was a really enjoyable match to watch. I quite enjoyed it, and a lot of things like that can go horribly wrong very quickly, but I thought they worked that one quite well. A lot of people will probably criticise it and will slate it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Like I said, I've not watched TNA for a while, but I enjoyed that match. I thought it was really good. Next up was Davey Richards and Angelina Love, who are obviously, for those of you who know, or those of you who don't know, are a real life married couple. And then they were facing Eddie Edwards and Alicia, who just said was Eddie Edwards' wife. I don't know if that's storyline, if that's fact, or what. I apologise for that. Now, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards obviously were the Wolves, the American Wolves, whatever. One of the greatest tag teams I've ever seen. I was a fan of them in Ring of Honor. I was happy when they went to WWE, pissed off that WWE released him. I watched him briefly when last time I did watch TNA when they were in there. I watched them become champions. I was chuffed a bit, and then, like I said, I stopped watching TNA. So to see them two sort of split up and going at it, kind of a shame, but they also had a lot of singles runs and matches against each other in Ring of Honor, so they've always made us just as good of opponents as they have a tag team. And I just want to point out that Angelina Love, I've never been a fan. I always thought Velvet Sky was the hotter of the beautiful people. Angelina Love just doesn't do it for me, I'm afraid, and I don't think she's that good in the ring. The match itself was good. All four participants got some great spots in, some high spots, a lot of weapons, but obviously being Full Metal Mayor. Excuse me. They did everything they could to make it an enjoyable match. It felt a bit rushed. I don't know if maybe they were told to cut down their time or what. It seemed to it felt rushed, but that could just be me. The finishing move that led to the pin was just ridiculous. Ridiculous in a good way. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Even if you just sort of YouTube the end of this match. Basically, it's Edwards and Richards on top of a ladder. Davey Richards is laying headbutts down onto Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards starts fighting back, and he was on as you watch it on TV, the right hand side of the ladder. Richards was on the left. So Edwards started bouncing Richards' head off the top of the ladder. He then climbed, flipped over, grabbed Richards, and sort of sunset powerbombed him through a table, and then got the 3 count. It was absolutely mental to watch. I don't think I've ever seen anything that good on a ladder since Kalisto hit the Samurai Del Sol in that tag ladder match. But yeah, like I said, really enjoyable match. Everybody contributed. Nobody looked bad. Nobody looked, out of place. I'm not sure if Alicia, Eddie Edwards' wife, whether she's or not, is an actual wrestler, but she seemed to do really well in the match. I was quite impressed with her. So, fair play. Everybody did the bit. Next up was Low Key versus Sanjay Dutt, 2 out of 3 falls match for the X Division title. Low Key still rocking the Hitman look, the Agent 46, 47, can't remember. but it looks pretty cool. It's different, and you know, I kind of like it. 2 out of 3 falls matches aren't always good. Sometimes they can drag on. Sometimes they have rush falls or finishes that wouldn't work as finishes in regular matches. Not the case here. This match was given plenty of time, and each finish was sort of made to be believable, as if a regular match could end that way. It wasn't just, you know, to rush through this one. Low-Ki won the first fall when he hit the Warrior's Way, the double stomp from the top rope, after countering something else, I think it was. And then Duck won the second fall with a roll up, and then they carried on a bit, and then Duck got the third fall with a moonsault stomp from the top rope. Low-Ki was on the floor, Duck was up on the ropes, and he sort of stood up and he just moonsaulted over, but then landed like in a Warrior's Way style, but he had the moonsault at the beginning, which was pretty cool to watch. And that's what added, that gave him the win, sorry. And I suppose added a bit of insult to injury to Low-Ki, given that he kind of adapted his finishing move and finished him off with it. The crowd didn't really seem that much into it. I mean, they popped for it, like the high spots and stuff like that, but overall, they didn't seem too enthusiastic about the match. Nonetheless, I thought it was a really good match, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Up next was the women's unification match. I'm sorry if you can hear that chirping noise. That's one of our cats. Sienna versus Rosemary for the GFW and TNA Knockout Women's title and the unification match. Familiar with Rosemary. I remember she was part of Decay with Abyss and Crazy Steve. Obviously, I believe Crazy Steve signed with NXT, so that's kind of split that up, and Abyss went back to the Joseph Parks gimmick. So that obviously leaves Rosemary on her own. Sienna, no idea who she is. Absolutely clueless as to who she is. The fans were totally behind Rosemary, and her entrance was pretty cool. She had a load of women with like face paint coming out, walking like zombies and stuff. It just looked pretty cool. Sienna just came out with some weird crown, neck thing on and a crown thing going on. Gail Kim was in the ring to sort of try and shake hands, and she's been inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame apparently, which is pretty cool. And whether she'll make the WWE one is a different thing, but you know, she deserves it. She's you know, pretty, you know, put up a good showing, and she has done a lot for the women's movement in wrestling. So yeah, back to the Rosemary and Sienna match. Sienna's cousin is somebody called Laurel Van Ness, who was out with Sienna's cousin. They were trying to interfere, but she sent them both to the back. Then there was a spot where Rosemary hit her finisher, the Red Wedding, but Laurel Van Ness came back out and pulled Earl Hebner out of the ring. He told her where to go, you know, told her basically get out. But you know, so she'd already saved Sienna. Then somebody called Ali came out with a kendo stick and sort of chased Laurel Van Ness out. But all this had sort of given chance for Sienna to sort of come round. She grabbed the title belt and hit Rosemary in the head. Everybody thought that was it when she covered her, but Rosemary kicked out. The match went on, and then Rosemary tried to spray the green mist into Sienna's face, but Sienna put her hand over her mouth to prevent it. She moved around after a while because apparently the green mist burns. She was sort of selling the fact that her hand was burning, but it sort of came out to her advantage, because as Rosemary picked her up to hit her with the Red Wedding again, Sienna got her hand that had the mist on her and just raked it in Rosemary's eyes, so she started, you know, she sort of fell. Sienna locked on a choke and Rosemary had to tap out. And then while she'd finished, they were both still selling the, you know, burnt hand, burnt eyes thing. It was a good match overall. There was enough cheating by Sienna to keep Rosemary looking strong, but not enough to sort of ruin the match. It didn't spoil anything as such, because at the end of it, it came down to the two of them. You know, if you know what I mean, which I hope you do, because I can't find another way of explaining it. But yeah, it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I think it's probably, I don't know if it was as good as anything I've seen in WWE. I mean, they've had some terrible matches lately, considering the start of the women's revolution. But yeah, it was a good match, and you know, it was what it was. I enjoyed it. Next up, main event time. Lashley, the TNA Impact Wrestling champion, versus Alberto El Patron, who was the Global Force Wrestling World Champion after defeating Magnus. I already knew the outcome of this match, thanks to social media. You know, you go on Facebook to see whose birthday it is that day, and boom, there you go, as results of the last night's wrestling event right in front of you. That is, like I said, that's the downside to it. But I kind of wanted to see how the match played out for myself, so obviously I watched the event. I wasn't sure what to expect with this match. I kind of thought it would be a good match, and I hoped it would be. When it came to it, they went out of the way to give it like a big fight feel. Both guys who were wrestling had cornermen. Alberto came out with his father, Dos Caros. The cornermen. Alberto had his father, Dos Caros. Lashley had King Mo. But when they came out, Lashley had like an entourage with him. King Mo and a load of other guys who fight for that American top team or whatever it is that he fights for. And Alberto had his dad and his brother come out with him. They kind of made it feel like a big UFC or boxing match, but once the match had got started, there was a bit of shoving in that before, but when it came to it, there was only King Mo left and Dos Caros left in each wrestler's respective corners. The rest of the people were sent out after the introductions. Yeah, so the match itself was okay. It definitely wasn't a bad match, and both guys, you know, did their best to make it feel like a big deal. To me, there felt like there was a lack of chemistry between the two guys. I mean, I've seen Patron, you know, Del Rio, as most of you know him as, have some great matches with a lot of the WWE stars, but it just didn't seem to gel and have that chemistry with Lashley that really sort of took the match right up to a main event feel. There was a spot where the cornermen did get involved, but to its credit, it wasn't, you know, there wasn't too much interference from them. They didn't overbook it or anything. King Mo and Dos Caros did get into it a few times, the last time leading to Dos Caros kicking King Mo right in the balls. Lashley saw this, chased off Dos Caros, but this like sort of became Lashley's downfall. As he went to get back in the ring, he had his back turned and he was looking at Dos Caros, and you know, Alberto came up behind him, kicked him in the back of the head, and then I can't remember if he ran him into corner posts as well. But Lashley ended up sort of coming through the ropes, but he was kind of holding on to balance himself. And then Patron jumped off the top rope and hit him with like a double stomp. It wasn't the best way to finish a match, but you know, that's how they did it. It wasn't believable. It was like, you know, a leg drop winning a match. I mean, who uses a leg drop as a finishing move? Yeah, sorry, had to get that one in. But yeah, a lot of people probably think that the double stomp wasn't the best finish. I don't. I would rather have seen something else on a pin, or maybe even, you know, a proper armbar submission would have been nice. But you know, they did what they did. But it didn't ruin anything. It was just a bit of a cheap way to end the match. So obviously now the title's unified. Patron is the GFW Impact Wrestling Champion, so I'm assuming this belt will be retired now and they'll be using the Global Force Wrestling ones. Hopefully they'll be doing replicas of them, because I actually kind of like the world title, and the tag titles look quite nice as well. Not as nice as the TNA ones, but they were alright. But you know, that's a different subject for maybe a different video. Going back to the main event briefly, like I said, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't amazing. It was good, but it was better than some of WWE's main event matches recently. So I'll leave that at that. Overall, I thought it was a really good event. It was better than some of the WWE stuff that I've watched recently. If they can keep that kind of standard up, I'm gonna try and catch some episodes of, you know, whatever it is now, Global Force Impact Wrestling, I believe it is. And if it's as good a show as, you know, that on a weekly bit, well, it won't be as good as that, because obviously that's one of the marquee pay-per-views. But if the show's as good as, you know, it can be every week, then I may sort of keep in touch with it and carry on watching. And I may end up watching it, you know, weekly and getting right into it. Just lately, WWE hasn't really been blowing me away. You know, so the old Enzo and Cass thing, I saw that coming a mile off. The first time I saw Enzo get attacked, I turned on to my girlfriend and I went, cause as I mentioned before, she's an Enzo and Cass fan, and said, you know, it's Cass. They're going to split them up. It's Cass that's attacking him, and I was right. But yeah, again, that's a different subject, different video. So yeah, that was my review of Slammiversary 15. It's gone a bit longer than I anticipated, so I apologise for that. But if you've watched it all the way through to the end, thank you very much. As always, please feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. It's always nice to see new subscribers. It's always nice to see comments, likes and everything. So yeah, that'll do it for this video, guys. I'll be back soon. I've got some other videos already made that I will be uploading. One of them kind of ties into this one. I'll probably upload that one maybe at the weekend. I don't want to overdo it with videos. It's Thursday today, so I don't want to bombard my page with videos. But yeah, I've got a couple ready to do. Yeah, payday's around the corner. We'll see if there's any new merchandise in the pipeline. There's a couple of things I'm looking at, so we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, that'll do it for now, guys. Like I said, thanks again for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to my channel, there's plenty of other stuff in here. Go right back to the beginning, check it out. There's bits of all sorts. And I am going to try and do some non-wrestling related stuff as well in the future. I've got a couple of ideas lined up, so yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys, and as always, I'll see you later. Take care.